There it is. Hey, Ron, at some point very soon, I'd like to talk to you. What's good?
It is now 10 a.m. and we will open the July 13th, 2017 formal session of the Yamhill County Commissioners. And we will start, Representative Noble, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I would be happy to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will now move to our invocation, and Commissioner Stewart, please introduce the invocation.
Yes, joining us this morning is Pastor Bonnie Johnson. He is the associate pastor at Valley Baptist Church. He was born in Kentucky, grew up in Georgia, came to Valley Baptist in 2004. Before that, he served in college ministry. He has degrees from Valdosta State and the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He and his wife Priscilla have 5 children from 1 to 9, so he's very busy. Appreciate you joining us this morning, Pastor Johnson.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for your love and your care for us, and we just come to you today, and I'll lift these men and women to you that are giving their time and energy and just their resources to be able to come and to serve the city of McMinnville. We pray, Father, for your wisdom for them as they seek to make decisions that have to be made. Pray, Father, that you would just guide and direct them in each situation to make the very best decision that they can make for you and for this city. And Father, I pray as they seek to find information that they would have all the information that they need to make the good and the right decision that you would have to be made for this city, and that you would prosper and guide them in this city as just seek to do what needs to be done. And Father, we just are so thankful that you have just blessed us, and we do pray for our city, and we pray that you would step in, Father, and just for the places that need the help, to you provide the leadership and guidance there, and that you would provide in a way that would make this city just a safe and a great place just to live, to grow, and to know what you would have us to know. And Father, we just want to give you this day and this time for them, and just guide and direct it. And we just ask you to help us to know you today, to see you in our lives, and just to help us to be all that you would have us to be. And we just give the praise to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart has invited a special guest today. Normally we would move right into public comment, but we're going to veer just a little bit. Commissioner Stewart, if you would introduce your special guest, please.
Yes, very happy that Representative Ron Noble is joining us this morning. Representative Ron Noble represents us here in District 24. Formerly, everybody knows, Chief of Police in McMinnville, and currently Director of Public Safety at Linfield. And Representative Noble and his wife Sue have 3 children?
4.
3 sons, 1 daughter?
Yes.
2 grandchildren?
That's changed since then.
Oh, it's changed.
Wow.
You have 4
now? On
now?
the way.
Okay, well, this is sorely outdated information, but it's kind of hard to keep up with the Noble population boom. Thank you very much for joining us. I had the occasion to speak with Representative Noble at the American Legion on Saturday and just debriefed a little, and I thought it would be important for the rest of us to hear the bumps and the bruises. This was a particularly grueling session. One representative called it hyper-partisan. Some considerably, I believe, difficult bills that I don't know that are going to do us a whole lot of good, but I'll let you give us the recap. Representative Noble?
Thank you very much. You mentioned hyper-partisan, and it's the only one I know so far. So what seems hyper-partisan to some is right now normal for me. Not only in partisanship, but I did have a sense that there was quite a divide between the House and the Senate. So the two different chambers were split on a few things. We had some ups and downs, as you said, some bills that were, I guess let me start off, I had a great experience and hope to continue to do it. I felt, as crazy as it sounds, in my element with regard to what I believe government should look like, and then getting pulled in every single direction you can get pulled in throughout the process. Not unlike being a police chief. But we had some good things happen. And one of the most, I guess, most publicized recently is the transportation plan, which wasn't fully embraced by either party, but it was embraced by both parties in the sense that not passed. And there's some things in the package that I don't care for, but overall, the transportation package I think is a positive thing. I brought some stuff that I can leave with you. One is specific to what that does to House District 24, and what it does for us. Not only does it include $22 million for more design on the bypass on the northern end, or what we call Phase 2, it also adds $1.7 million in transit to Yamhill County per year. And then on an average of 10 years, for instance, Yamhill County will receive $2.7 million per year over the next 10 years in additional monies for street funds or road funds. McMinnville, I think over 10 years, it's close to $8.5 million. Newburgh, close to $6 million. So there's some money that comes in to assist the local and county governments, which I think is sorely needed. Of course, along with those are the jobs that come with that construction. So even though there are some controversial aspects, the one for me is the 0.5%, 0.5% on car sales, which then goes to a rebate for electric vehicles. I'm a little bit leery about government having the ability to raise that, just to be blunt. We all share one common theme in that government, even before its government, isn't always the most trustworthy, and especially the state legislature. So that one is a little bit concerning, but again, I think the benefits right now, especially to House District 24, which is a lot of Yamhill County and part of Washington County, are pretty great. And looking forward to some improved infrastructure. That's mostly the transportation package. We had some other things happen. I was able to chief sponsor a bill to require that all volunteers in school districts that have direct and unsupervised contact with students have a background check. I would have thought, actually, that had been in law for a long time, but it hadn't been. We required teachers and administrators, vendors, contractors to have background checks, but not volunteers. So now it is the law that districts who allow that must create a policy requiring a background check. And it provides the district the ability to create whatever background check fits their needs in their communities. So it's not one blanket policy throughout the state. The Yamhill School District has a chance to create their own policy, different from Reynolds High School, different from Klamath Falls. So I think it still is a requirement, state requirement that allows for local control. We had some what I would call bad or I guess less than encouraging things happen. During November, in the November election, we had Measure 96, Measure 98, Measure 99 approved by the voters. We got closest in funding Measure 96 in veterans funding. In fact, from a substantially, we've fully funded the voters' will. The one question, and the reason it didn't have full support, was that $2.5 million of that is in capital construction in bonds, as opposed to general fund or lottery dollars. But the total dollar amount is actually made whole. The other two, Measure 98, which deals with career programs in schools, is not fully funded, nor was outdoor school activities in Measure 99. And that to me is a little disheartening, because when I went door to door campaigning, I once in a while got a response back from people that said, well, my vote doesn't count. And the sad part of it is we, in those two measures, have shown them that sometimes your vote doesn't count, and I think that's tragic. We need to figure out a way to make sure that the most recent and loudest voice of the people is absolutely carried. And I think the legislature failed in that one. We passed an $8.2 billion K-12 budget, which is an 11% increase over the past biennium. Yet it's still not enough, because we weren't able to control the cost drivers, so that even with an 11% increase in budget, we still have districts, including McMinnville, that are laying teachers and staff off. And that's tragic. We need to figure out a way to control those cost drivers, like any other business does, like the county government does. You identify what is your major cost drivers, and you figure out a way to mitigate or control this. And I think the legislature failed in that. We had some ugly attempts to, and this is my perspective, to renew Measure 97 in the legislature. And after a sounding defeat at the polls in November, there was still some trying to renew that. I do believe that we need some revenue reform. We need some spending reform. And we need to make choices and understand what the priorities are. When we entered the session, the most disturbing thing is we had more than $1 billion in revenue increase. In fact, it's grown to about $1.5 billion over the last biennium. That's a pretty big increase. In fact, over the last six years, state revenue has grown by an average of 30%, and is expected to grow by 40%. Yet we still were facing a $1.5 billion shortfall because of our spending. That at a time when our economy is really going pretty good. My concern is what happens when our economy isn't doing so well. And $1.5 billion could turn to how many billions of dollars in shortfall, and then we haven't taken a look at the long term. So that's my quick summary. I could probably talk for a lot longer, but I know you have some business, and I would encourage more interaction.
I just have a question about the bills that pass for business. Does that bring us into a more business-friendly climate in this state?
I don't think we've done anything to create a friendlier climate for business. There was an attempt to actually reduce the tax exemption in 2013 that was passed, and it would have increased taxes on the smallest of small businesses, as I count them, anyone under 10 employees. Fortunately, that stopped in the Senate. We passed a few things that I believe were business neutral, but I don't believe we've done anything that actually has encouraged business growth.
And having been in law enforcement all these years, there was a particularly contentious bill, Senate Bill 719A, having to do with gun confiscation. And I know you and I chatted about this, and you had some concerns in respect for the safety of law enforcement and also the constitutionality of the law.
Absolutely. I've had an opportunity over almost 3 decades to respond to suicides, to deliver notices of people who have lost loved ones due to suicide, and even had someone commit suicide in front of me. So I'm extremely sensitive to those issues. I'm still confounded by how someone could become so despondent they would commit suicide. House Bill 719, or Senate Bill 719, was trying to address the symptom, I believe, in gun control, and not the underlying cause. And there was nothing in that bill that provided any treatment, any assistance for those who were that despondent. That's the, are we really getting at the problem it's trying to solve? The other part, I consider the gun part a symptom. And I have a problem, as I shared with you, with us trying to infringe upon the Second Amendment by kind of skirting around the 14th Amendment, which is equal protection under the law and due process, so that we can peel back the Fourth Amendment, which is the protection of illegal search and seizure. And I didn't feel very comfortable with that at all, because I have, like you, sworn to uphold the Constitution. I've done that on 4 different occasions. So very sensitive to the issue of suicide and mental health issues and people being despondent. I don't believe 719 was dealing with that. It was more about our constitutional rights, and it doesn't allow for that. It was a bad bill. Again, the sponsors of the bill are friends of mine. I believe their heart was in the right place, but this was dealing with the symptom and not the cause of suicide.
Thank you very much, Representative Noble, for being here today. It's always a pleasure to see you. I've had many conversations with your colleagues who you have represented our district very well. You have forged quite a reputation in Salem for your thoughtfulness, and I'm very proud to call you my representative, and I hope you continue to perform the way you have, because it bodes well for us here in this county with the work that you're doing. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have an open invitation.
Anytime.
You certainly may come back and share with us anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Noble's one of the good guys down there.
Oh, well, he was a good guy when he was police chief.
Of course he was.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you, Representative. And with that, we will move on to our agenda item, our next item being public comment. And I do have an intent to speak card from Mr. Wall. And I did have a brief conversation with Mr. Wall. He is going to be speaking to agenda items. And with the permission of my fellow commissioners, if he does go over the 3 minutes a little bit, would that be okay?
Certainly.
Okay. So, Mr. Wall, now, I said a little bit. So.
Just a sentence or two. I will not ever use the privilege or the honor.
Thank you, Mr. Wall.
My name is David S. Wall. My address is P.O. Box 756, Newburgh, Oregon, 97132. Last week we talked about water, and I'm going to be very, very brief about all the things I'm talking about because they require a more extensive formal written report. We talked about water, or at least I talked about water last week. This week I'm going to follow through. This is the Newburgh Water Quality Report for 2016. The only problem I have with this is that I should never have gotten it, my neighbors should never have gotten it, and my friends in Dundee should never have gotten it. The ratepayers of Newburgh are paying for this pamphlet, the printing of this pamphlet, and the distribution of this pamphlet far beyond the scope of their service area. That's point one. Point two is the ratepayers, water ratepayers from Newburgh have at some time funded for the infrastructure to put a fire hydrant and other assorted water lines. The fire hydrant is in front of the McClure residence on Highway 99 and also down Benjamin Road. Now, why this has been done, I do not know as of this time period. However, in the paper, in the Newburgh Graphic, as of the 12th of July, there was a comment about a further case involving the McClure property with the city of Newburgh several years ago that cost this county taxpayers a ton of money. But we will not go into that today. But back to that brewery, that bar across the street on the McClure property, we have this Valley Field Guide produced by, I guess, the Willamette Valley Field Guide. Okay, and this deals with a bunch of businesses in which that bar, that brewery, is located. And here, let me quote something with reference to water. Quote, "The brewery uses pure, untreated Parrot Mountain water. House yeast cultures, et cetera, period, close quote. We went from the testimony of well water, pure well water. We had a 3-year out-of-date analysis from a certified analytical laboratory stating that it was well water. They have access to city water, and now access to Parrot Mountain water. So what water is actually being used here? We do not know. So we'll move on to another issue. On item number 5, B5, it says county grievance, it's employee grievance. In my opinion, I'm very well versed in these procedures from another jurisdiction. It's quite larger than our lovely jurisdiction. This should never have gotten this far. Both parties have an opinion. There's substantial evidence for the employee's position. Once again, it should never have gotten this far. And what I mean by that is the county administrator should, at some point in time, periodically review the job specs for every job classification in the county to make sure that extraneous expenditures to resolve issues like this and to cause discordance within the workforce never occur or are very well are minimized. With reference to item number 7, now this deals with increases approximately, all these recycle, first of all, you need, your solid waste program is less than substandard. It's really pathetic. You have a nasty problem here in the future on how to deal with solid waste. In other words, you're going to have to go to zero waste. And that means your recycling program, which is basically almost non-existent from the jurisdiction I'm accustomed to, is causing you incredible problems. Now, this is in reference to either commissioners not giving the correct direction to the county administrator, or the county administrator not being progressive enough to deal with this issue. But you folks are now at the Supreme Court level, and that's costing the taxpayers a lot of money. Not saying that our honorable county attorney can't go before the Supremes himself, but I suspect they may be contract attorneys to deal with this. I would recommend that you defer these increases, because these increases, in my opinion, are not merited, because it's for what, 80% performance rate to something like close to 90? Well, in my opinion, they should be performing at 100% with their contracted amount and not squeezing the taxpayers for basically fees that are supporting their operations that are now up at the highest court of Oregon. And this is just not acceptable. And I don't even understand why this county would permit garbage or refuse or whatever coming in from Portland or any other jurisdiction because of the limitations of this dump. Now, the main issue before the Supreme Court deals with what I've been complaining since I've just become a newly minted Oregonian, and this exclusive farm use zoning business. There's been a systematic attack on agriculture throughout the state of Oregon, part and parcel put forth by what appears to be a harmless agritourism business. And you have another matter appearing before you, which I will not discuss today. And that all of this could have been avoided, in my opinion. And now we're on this very nasty road of avoidable confrontation with the various people in this county that want to preserve and promote agriculture. And it dovetails directly into water use and all these water master plans that have been lying on somebody's back table for almost a decade, and the incomplete water program that several commissioners years ago authorized, but it was an incomplete study. And with that, I would like to sincerely thank you all for giving me this boon of extra time. And God bless all of you, and have fun today somehow, and especially you, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Wall.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate your being here and keeping us aware. Thank you. All right. With that, we will move to item B on our agenda, the consent agenda. And we do have on our consent agenda 8 items, and I would hear a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C, old business, we have none that I'm aware of. Item D, other business, we have none. We have no public hearings scheduled for today. Announcements, commissioners?
None at this time.
The only announcement I would like to make is I certainly, again, appreciate my fellow commissioners, and I know Representative Noble, Senator Boquist, for taking part in the Frankie Evans Memorial contribution at the Veterans Club at the American Legion. We're one of 28 states that have that memorial, and I think for those that were there, it was taken very well, and we're very honored and privileged. I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners and our other elected officials for attending that. I think it meant a lot to the veterans, especially as you may be aware that we do have an active, very active veterans member right in McMinnville now that was a survivor of the Evans sinking, and I know it meant an extreme amount to him because he still wakes up with sometimes of thoughts of that happening. So I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for participating.
Thank you, and thank you for your participation in that, and for, I know you were helped in the arranging of it, and it's an honor to have that memorial placed here in our area, honoring an Oregon veteran. So thank you again. With that, I have no further comments. We will end this session of the Yamhill County Commissioners' formal session.